This is the world of the campus vets.
By the time the liver gets diseased enough to show these sort of signs, there isn't much we can do to get it back. It has me worried.
It is a race against time. We'd like to get him off the table as quick as possible.
We have Lacey, a 4-year-old lab cross-in. She's been attacked by a porcupine.
At the Western College of Veterinary Medicine, students in the teaching hospital learn to handle animal emergencies under emotionally challenging conditions. It's the night shift at the ER. Audrey McDonald and her son Jeff have just rushed in. Their 12-year-old beagle, Cricket, is seriously ill.
She's bloated out on the side, both sides.
I hope it's just some simple indigestion or something, but I don't think that's it.
Oh, is that sore, baby? Yeah, she's really hard to feel anything in her abdomen because it's so full.
Cricket's enlarged abdomen is just one of her problems. She is also dizzy and has stopped eating.
You're coming with me, honey.
Student Alexandra Greenwood wastes no time getting her supervisor involved. Intern Dr. Catherine Myrna.
She bloated up, and then about 2 days ago, she got really weak. She has decreased appetite in the last month. She's unwilling to get up to go outside.
Okay. What could make our abdomen swell up in a older dog?
Heart failure or liver problems.
All right, let's get going.
Her being cold and distended and pale could potentially be quite serious. Hopefully it's something that we can treat and get her feeling better. She's a sick little girl right now.
Across town, Haley Hesselin is feeding her 8 pet rats.
You want a treat, Judy? There you go.
You know, people just don't understand. They say, how do you get attached to a rat? They're great little guys. They're very clean. They each have a different personality, and they're very personable. Ah, gotcha. There we go. Get in there.
4 of the rats are booked for their annual checkup at the veterinary college. Haley's particularly concerned about June.
Yeah, you sound bad. Can you hear her breathing? We don't know if it's a lung condition or a heart condition. In you go. It's like a rattle in her chest, and it's been getting louder and louder.
So why don't we start with June?
Resident Dr. Alana Shrubsole attempts to listen to June's heart.
The lung sounds are so loud that it's hard for me to hear a rate and a rhythm. Getting to up to 2 years old is quite old for a rat, so I wouldn't be surprised if she had some heart disease, maybe some lung issues. They can get pneumonia, and they're also, when they get older, prone to getting cancer and various tumors, so it can be quite serious.
He's neat. He's really laid back. He's gentle.
This Arabian stallion named Ibn is suffering from a badly infected tooth. Owner Cheryl Cherney drove 12 hours to the vet college to have the molar removed, a major surgery.
He's even chewing funny. He's sore in there, you can tell.
Cheryl will return to pick up Ibn in 2 weeks.
So we're just checking his mucous membrane color. That looks good.
This case comes with a unique set of challenges for student Christy Jacobson. She's allergic to horses.
Come on, buddy. I have to take some antihistamines and shower right away, wash my hands. Everyone laughs at me because I'm always sneezing.
Christy knows that surgery on a horse can be complicated and risky. Ibn's case will turn out to be no exception.
Good boy.
Because it's been such a hard day.
Yeah, they're so lazy.
3 of Haley's pet rats have been sent home with a clean bill of health. But June is making strange noises whenever she breathes.
We're putting the leads, the ECG leads, on June here.
An electrocardiogram will show if the problem originates in the heart.
On the initial printout, everything looked good. I was a little bit worried that she might have had a regular beating of the heart, but I didn't see that on the ECG. Right now, we are taking June to radiology, and they're going to take some x-rays of her, and we'll look and see how her heart's doing, how her lungs are doing, whether she has a pneumonia, heart disease, that kind of thing. They don't usually like being held in a certain position, and to take an x-ray, you have to have an animal that's completely still. So it'll be challenging to try and get her in the proper positions.
They hope to tempt her into the right position using what every rodent can appreciate, a little cheese bread. Cricket is gravely ill.
It's really obvious that her abdomen is puffed up. What we want to do is look at the blood tests and the fluid on the abdomen, just so we can figure out where it's coming from, because once we know where it's coming from, we know better how to fight it.
Intern Dr. Myrna is worried. The beagle's swollen tummy could be a sign of a life-threatening condition.
We always worry about heart disease, and then liver disease can cause this kind of fluid buildup in the abdomen. There's no evidence of inflammatory response. There aren't a lot of white blood cells in here.
That means infection is unlikely, but the blood does reveal high levels of liver enzymes, a sign the liver may not be working right. They move on to the heart.
Gotta tell you, just on first glances, that's looking pretty normal.
There are no abnormalities with the heart, judging from the electrocardiogram and x-rays. So heart disease is off the list. It's time for ultrasound.
What I'm gonna do is take some of this fluid off the abdomen so we have an idea of what it looks like.
If it's blood, it could point to a hemorrhage. If the fluid is clear, the prognosis could be just as serious. Coming up, Ibben's surgeons fight the clock.
It is a race against time. We'd like to get him off the table as quick as possible.
Student Christy Jacobson takes Ibben to a padded room in preparation for his dental surgery.
First of all, what we'll do is we'll put him under anesthetic, and then we'll take him right to the CT scan. Once we get quick results from that, then we'll take him right to surgery.
The CT scan creates cross-sectional images of Ibben's head in far better detail than x-rays.
We can reconstruct and get a 3D image of the overall head, and it really helps us anatomy-wise what's going on.
Faculty veterinarian Dr. Ryan Shoemaker hopes to get Ibben through the scans quickly and into surgery.
We don't want anything under anesthesia any longer than we have to, and horses, they need to get back on their feet fairly quick.
But it turns out there is more than the tooth to be removed. The scans reveal a suspicious mass in the sinus cavity.
So I'll help them just get started moving, and then I'll come back with you, and we can, it's probably a tumor at this stage. So we have a little bigger job ahead of us.
Thanks to the cheese bread, June gets into the right position for a clear x-ray of her chest and neck.
I still question that area of trachea, but not tremendously.
Dr. Farr from the medical imaging department and Dr. Shrubsole scan the images for clues to the rat's raspy breathing.
The heart looks good and the lungs are nice and full of air.
No major consolidation, but I think there's something here. We see in this area a very prominent bronchus that looks like a ring. Now, normal bronchi in a rat should be so faint we could hardly see them.
The tiny abnormality could mean that pneumonia is starting to develop, but it's not serious at this stage. June seems healthy in every way, except for the noisy breathing.
There's this one area that's a little bit questionable, that maybe there's the beginning of something going on in there.
To combat any infection developing in her rat's lungs, Haley is armed with a prescription for antibiotics.
Rats tend to get tumors fairly often, especially when they're later in life. And so I'm glad it's not a tumor. I'm also glad it's not heart disease.
Otherwise, she's great. Everyone loved her.
She's a good little girl.
She's a very good little girl, yeah.
Fortunately for June, the drugs do the trick, and within a couple of days, she's breathing easier. and so is her owner, Haley. Cricket's belly is enlarged nearly twice the size it should be. Dr. Myrna and student Alexandra Greenwood take a fluid sample to find out why.
It looks very clear.
Not blood, my friends, not blood.
The dog's belly is full of clear fluid, a classic symptom of liver failure. Further tests are needed, but it's not looking hopeful for Cricket.
By the time the liver gets diseased enough to show these sort of signs, 70 to 80% has to be damaged. The liver may be so far diseased that there isn't much we can do to get it back. Only time's really going to tell, and we need a definitive diagnosis, but it has me worried. So when you have a case like this, it's very important to be honest and open with the owners about how poor this prognosis could be.
They update Cricket's owners, Audrey and her son Jeff.
Our blood work showed that she has elevated liver enzymes, which suggests that there's something going on with her liver.
So we're gonna get her more stable tonight, continue with the diagnostics, but from what we've seen so far, it's only fair to prepare yourself that this is probably not something that we can cure.
If Cricket's liver is diseased, there's a good chance it will show up during tomorrow's ultrasound.
I am a little bit nervous. It's my first time going to surgery, so it's a little stressful, and it's going to be a long one. That's what I hear.
Student Christy Jacobson is scrubbed in and ready to help remove an infected tooth from a show horse named Ibn. The surgery will be further complicated by a large mass behind the tooth. Christy knows the clock is ticking. Surgical resident Dr. Shoemaker wastes no time removing part of the cheekbone in order to access the sinus. Once into the sinus, they locate the suspicious mass and carefully remove every piece of it.
Well, I think we took about as much abnormal tissue out as we could.
It will be sent to the lab to see whether it is part of the infection triggered by the tooth, or worse, cancer.
There's the tooth.
Finally, the infected tooth is pulled out. As the hours pass, Dr. Shoemaker grows concerned. When horses are on their backs, their internal organs are under a great deal of stress.
So he's been under anesthesia now coming on 4 hours, so 3 hours and 3/4. It is a race against time. We'd like to get him off the table as quick as possible.
Coming up, Ibn panics when he wakes up from anesthesia.
Easy guy, easy guy.
It's the morning after Cricket came into the ER with an enlarged belly. The day shift team is now on the case. Resident Dr. Cheryl Vargo and student Carol Black.
We're suspicious of liver disease just because one of the tests that we ran last night, she had some elevated liver enzymes.
Medical imaging expert Dr. Tryon knows what liver disease looks like on ultrasound. In a few seconds, it's clear to everyone.
That's her liver. It's kind of knobbly and very irregular. You don't have the smooth contours.
Sometimes that happens from a chronic hepatitis, inflammation of the liver. We tend to call that a cirrhosis of the liver, and that's what we think it's most likely to be.
Further tests on Cricket's blood and the fluid in her belly show evidence of end-stage liver disease. The next step is up to Audrey and her son, Jeff.
I think this is probably the first time I've had to call an owner with bad news, especially with one of the options being euthanasia.
Ibn the show horse has made it through his lengthy operation.
3.
But now a critical moment lies just ahead.
Horses don't always come out of anesthetic really well. Can be kind of a struggle, so we'll see how he comes up.
Ibn is awake, but he is disoriented and panicky. Dr. Shoemaker steps in to calm the stallion before he hurts himself.
It's okay, it's okay. Easy guy, easy guy. 1, 2, 3. Easy. It's okay. Oh, stand still.
Ibn finally calms down enough to be left on his own.
Don't fall down. All right?
No, he looks really good. He's just resting quietly, so he's not thrashing around anymore.
It will take Ibn a few days to recover from his operation. By then, the surgical team will know whether the mass they removed with his tooth was benign or malignant.
We should put her up on the exam table.
In the small animal clinic, a one-eyed dog has a nose full of painful quills.
We have Lacey, a 4-year-old lab cross. She's been attacked by a porcupine. We'll have to give a really good feel over the entire body because some of them get into funny places.
Student Teresa Cook has seen this problem before.
There are cases where a quill will migrate up to the spinal cord or into the thorax and cause a problem there. So it can be serious and it should always be treated by a veterinarian.
Dog sitter Daphne Stumborg brought Lacey to the ER clinic. The dog's owner, Wally Lease, is not far behind.
At first she was quite attempting to, with her paws, either grab them and sort of pull them out. So I'm assuming she's thinking that somewhere along the way they're going to take care of me and put me back to the way I was.
Right. Come on, Lacey.
After a little sedation, the quill pulling will begin.
Bye, Lacey. You're in good hands.
Come on. Good girl.
Thank you, Isabel.
Cricket is too ill to save. Audrey and her son Jeff have come to say goodbye. The old beagle has been a part of their lives since she was a pup.
They're gonna put her to sleep. I mean, she's definitely on her last days. Her liver shut down.
I think it was a really, really hard decision, but she's decided that the best thing for Cricket was to euthanize her. Me personally, if it was my own animal, I probably would have made the exact same decision.
A few moments later, it's over.
I'm just really surprised that she's gone. Like, this is you just think you're gonna have your pet forever. You know, it's a living thing that never occurred to me that someday we wouldn't have her. It's that simple. Just thought we'd always have her. We're all gonna miss her an awful, awful lot.
Lacey's run-in with a porcupine has left her with a painful souvenir. 14 quills embedded in her snout. Intern Dr. Yeazer and student Teresa Cook sedate the dog first, so she won't feel any pain.
Let her rest for just 5 minutes or so before it kind of takes full effect.
Once Lacey is fully sedated, they start the plucking.
Make sure you're pulling straight up. You lose track of them. They can migrate over time with the dog moving around. The quills can move to different places and just come up against blood vessels or nerves or different places where we don't want them to be.
Lacey even has quills in her tongue and gums.
Hi, bud. How you doing?
The lab results are back on the suspicious mass behind Ibn's infected molar.
It shows that it's a tooth root infection, so it's infection and not cancer. And the long-term prognosis for the horse is much better that it's infection and not a cancerous lesion. And the horse should do quite well.
There you go. Good boy. Oh,
It's
yes.
good news for the stallion and a relief for student Christy Jacobson.
Good boy. It's been just a great experience. So I've really enjoyed, working with him. It's nice following a case right from beginning to end.
While Christy says goodbye to Ibn, The stallion's owner, Cheryl Cherney, is looking forward to saying hello again.
Gonna go home? I know.
Now that cancer has been ruled out, Ibn is free to go home.
He's pooped. He's ready to go.
Lacey is lucky. No pieces of quills remain. One shot to wake her from anesthesia, and she'll soon be ready to head home.
What are you doing? How are you? Lacey's looking like she's doing quite well. A little groggy, but seems to be in generally good spirits. Glad to have the quills out and probably hungry now. Dinner time.
Time to go in the playhouse. Come on, let's go in the playhouse. So I decided I would build a cage for them, and this way I'm able to get into the cage with them and play with them and socialize with them. Okay, who wants Rice Krispies? Come on, here you go. Oh, you got a little treat. You brought your treat with you.